I'll just hang my name shows up. I mean, if I keep
It is 7:30, Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. We're now calling to order the Historic Town of Eastonville's regular council meeting. Mrs. King, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Please stand for the invocation by Pastor Critton, followed by Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Father God, we thank you once again for this day that you have made. We will even now continue to rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for this opportunity to live, move, and have our being. We again want to express our appreciation and gratitude to you, God, for this community, Eatonville, this town of Eatonville, God, that you have placed us in to be stewards and servants, God. We continue to lift up the administration, God, that you will continue to give them the discretion and the wisdom and knowledge and understanding to make those decisions that would be beneficial for this community and for the residents, God, that will bring you glory and good to all those that live here, God. We pray for each resident of this community, God, that you will continue to bless us to live in harmony and unity with one another, that we will respect one another's personalities and properties, God. We again thank you for this town council meeting where we can further be educated and updated on the state and the welfare of this, our community. We honor you and we bless you and we thank you and we praise you again for all things that you're doing in, through, and for Eatonville. In Jesus' name we ask this and pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item, can you please hold? First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Citizen participation, Mrs. King?
Yes, we have Theo McWhite.
Well, are you speaking on if you're speaking on a hearing item, you can speak at that time?
Yeah.
But if we have anyone else speak on something other than either of the two hearings tonight?
Based upon his form, he's speaking on construction of new buildings and permits. That is not.
That would be the moratorium then?
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. The next one would be Ryan Novick.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council, residents. Ryan Novak, President of Eatonville. So a couple things I want to address real quickly, going back to the workshop part about first off the homelessness and what we had sort of addressed there. I would say be mindful of that once people are released from certain places, they are again free citizens, and so please just be careful about infringing on the rights of free citizens at that point, telling them where they can and cannot go, because it then creates precedent for the rest of us. On the topic of, I guess, uniformity in the businesses, what I would say is, yeah, I think that that's probably a good thing, but someone had mentioned HOA, and that's a very bad word for me. So if you guys could pass an ordinance to prevent HOAs from ever being Eatonville, I would be on board for that. Because as someone even mentioned, sometimes they even have more power than a lot of councils. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm sure you guys have looked at it, have thought about it, and from the little bit of research that I've done, I think it's something that could be possible, but annexing land around Eatonville into Eatonville. So, example, Eaton Street, half is Eatonville, half is Maitland. All the way up to the cemetery, which is also called Eatonville, is not Eatonville. So I did a little bit of researching, and I had a brief conversation with Terry here about what could be possible, but annexing land is easier than you might think. And if the residents of that area that you want to bring into the family, into the fold, that by and large probably consider themselves Eatonvillians anyway, well, that would be tax revenue into the town. We'd have to service them to trash, water, etc. But overall, I think that all that land that surrounds us up to the cemetery, down to Lake and all that area that's nestled back there, if they vote for it or sign a petition, if they vote for it, then they could be part of Eatonville. And I don't know if you guys have ever considered it, thought about it, looked into it, but I just want to put it on your radar to think about. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce Arby.
Hi guys, the chief already shut me down. I wanted to say something about uniforms, but I'm going to deal directly with him on that. And the only other thing I wanted to ask, this is a question, I don't know if you can answer it or not, but when you guys widen Kennedy Boulevard, I'll say I'm hoping that we're not going to destroy that line of trees that is at the edge of the Humford property coming this way on the right side of Kennedy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they need to be out.
but wait.
They need to be out right now.
Why? Why should they be out?
Why should be out?
Yeah, why should they be out?
First thing, you can't see the archway when you drive down the street forward. That's one thing.
Okay,
And
so
they gonna
it's a
tear the roads
visual
up.
issue.
And oak trees tear your roads up.
Okay, well, on behalf of oak trees and things that grow naturally out of the ground that give us cooler temperatures and clean air, God bless them, and I'll just pray for them. What we need is more concrete so it can be hot as hell all the time. Thank you. Excuse me first.
No.
Angela Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, fellow residents. And I know that we've broached this subject before. What I would like to do is challenge the CAO as far as trying to move swiftly to get code enforcement up and running. I have a picture here, actually, I just shared it with Chief, is that I walked out of my home one day and there are two cars parked on both sides of the street. The emergency vehicle had to slow to a crawl to get through. And I've said it and I keep repeating it. We have to be concerned about the safety of our residents. Even if code enforcement is not enforced or not working or not functional, whatever word we want to use, if we could potentially even just come along in the interim and one side of the street parking or something, because I would hate for there to be an emergency call that the paramedics cannot be able to get to someone and possibly save a life, because I think that then it's truly going to create a liability for the town. Secondly, at some point, just some status updates on, we're talking about uniformity along Kennedy. I would challenge you to see whether or not there have been master plans. It's my understanding, CRA spent a lot of money, and I know this is not the CRA board meeting, but there's been a lot of money spent on master plans for the town that may talk about or address some of the concerns. I do think that it is a great idea because it will create a richness for our county and community. Thank you.
The rest will be for a public hearing.
Our next item on the agenda is public hearing item number 1, approval of second reading of ordinance 2023-6. Mrs. Smith.
Ordinance 2023-6, an ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, establishing a temporary moratorium on the issuance of new building permits for new multifamily, mixed-use, commercial, or single-family residential for a maximum of 365 days or 90 days after the adoption of an impact fee ordinance, whichever is earlier, providing legislative findings and intent, providing for the term of moratorium, providing exemptions, providing for vetted rights and procedures, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
The public hearing section is now open. If anyone would like to speak, Mrs. King, call your name and come up and speak at this time.
We have Theo McWhite.
My name is Theo McWhite once again, and I just, when I heard about this moratorium, I was really sort of surprised because I'm presently building a home now on Calhoun Street, and I think when she started reading the notes there, she talked about multi-family, then she finally mentioned a single-family home. Growing up in Eatonville, in Calhoun Park there, we have enough vacant lots in our town that have been vacant for years now. And I think that we're trying to create new growth, new community, bring new families in the town. I don't see why there's a moratorium for just single family homes. I can understand we're getting, the 400 units on one side of Kennedy and I think 100 plus on the other side. That type of growth we need to suspend. But if we're going to be building some single family homes that's going to attract new families here, because I think one thing we have to remember, we got an elementary school here that we need to keep young families here that's going to support the elementary school. I think that's what happened with Hungerford, that we didn't keep enough high school students here in the town that could support Hungerford. Of course, there were a lot of kids that were being bused in from Apopka, Orlando, Winter Park. But now that we got a nice elementary school, we need to still have some young families that will move into Eatonville. And it'd be great that they move into a single-family home instead of moving into a high-rise apartment. Because where's the kids going to play in a high-rise apartment? They got a backyard. They can do more things in the front yard. So I think we need to really keep single-family homes off that moratorium list.
Thank you.
We have Julian Johnson.
Good evening, council, mayor, residents. Julian Johnson here. First, I was supposed to speak earlier. I don't know why I didn't, but thank you everyone who did, put in some sweat equity or who donated to our community celebration the other weekend. It was a success. All of the sponsors, SPLC, PEC, Florida Rising, K Customs, HaHa's Heroes, Shavars McCurdy, Esteemed Learning, Eatonville 1887, the Land Back Committee, Tyler Rose Accounting, Citywide Youth Development, and just anyone who did play a role. Thank you. Second, I got into this Eatonville fight because of housing, wanting to come back here and build in the town, wanting to come back and live in Eatonville. So for this moratorium, whatever it's called, I think single family should be kept out of it because that does, that creates more residents for our town. That creates opportunity. We're in the process of trying to, buy a new development in Eatonville. People want to move to Eatonville. People my age want to move to Eatonville. Young black business people, young black professionals, they want to move to the town. So taking out single family, that just you know, that takes away the opportunity from new residents coming into town, but that also takes away revenue from the town as well. So I think we should reconsider, you know, the single family part. Yeah, the multifamily, we know something happened. It was a big scare, but let's keep the single family out of it. That's simple stuff. Like, I think we should, you know, rethink that part and keep the single family, because I'm tired of waiting. Me and my fiance, we're trying to get a new house here in Eatonville, and we want to eventually develop. That's something that we want to do. So, you know, prolonging the process just like everything else is prolonged. Like, come on. It says a year, but it may be 2 years. Who knows? So let's, you know, reconsider that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
And we have Anthony Grant.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. There's a lot I want to say. I know I have 2 minutes, so I'm going to be as brief as possible.
You have 3.
How many? 3. Oh, I have 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm still as brief as possible. You know, I can understand this moratorium about a year ago when before the apartment complex came online. I think that was a perfect opportunity to do it. But I share both of the speakers' sentiments on single family. Why not exclude it allow single families, infill lot development and new subdivisions, exclude that as a part of your ordinance? I'm just asking that you be as creative as you possibly can be. There's only been about 10 houses built in the last 2 years. It's not like you have kicking down doors to build single families. I don't have any more, personally, lots to develop in Eatonville. I wish I did. But unfortunately, I don't have any more. I wish I had 10 more. But, you know, you look at our community is becoming a rental community. That should scare the hell out of y'all. That should be your #1 priority. I don't care about Founders Day. I don't care about the tree line. I don't care about homelessness. I'm not saying I don't care about it, but that should scare the hell out of you, all of you. So we're building single families. People are buying a home, and they're living here. And you're going to put a moratorium. Let me ask you a question. What is the average impact fee for a single family in Orange County municipalities? What is that number? What does it look like? Surely you got to know, because you adopted the ordinance to kill it. You don't know? Well, you should challenge staff before you make that decision to know. Fire is about average $500 a house. Police is about $300 a house. Transportation is about $3,500 a house. You can't do fire because you don't have a fire department. Impact fees is only for new construction, infrastructure for new development. 5-year capital improvement program. What's your transportation look like? What do your new roads look like? Anybody know? What's that budget look like for new roads over the next 5 years? That's what you're doing this for, to pay for those roads that's coming 6 years down the road. And if you don't know that, then why are you entering this arena to stop development? I understand it. But the horse is at the gate with the apartment complexes. So multifamily, I get it. Commercial, I don't really get it, because I think you should allow anything under 4,000 square feet, anything 3,000, set a threshold. But I don't think it's fair to a young lady or a young man that saved their money, that want to come over and put a coffee shop and build a $1,500 square feet building to put a coffee shop, and you said, no, can't do it. Interest rates going higher and higher. It's going to have some financial impact. So if you don't have those numbers for single family, then you should, before you enact such an ordinance. Nobody's kicking our door down, just build everywhere. I get it if you had new subdivisions coming online, but you don't. So I just actually be creative. New subdivisions, I get it. 3,500 square feet or larger, maybe, or maybe not. So I just ask you to reconsider passing that ordinance and do something with single family. Let us continue to develop.
That's it.
Yes, but Mayor.
It's public.
Hello again, King Mark Bertrand. I've moved here recently. My family history goes back. My grandmother, great-grandmother. This is not a time to stop development in Eatonville. It's not. I mean, it would be ridiculous to put anything in place to stop development in Eatonville. There is so much need in Eatonville that we should be going out of our way to create more opportunity to bring development into this town. We don't have restaurants, we don't have anywhere to hang out, we don't have anything to do here. If someone raised their hand and said, I want to develop something, everybody should get up, clap, and do anything they can to help. That's how bad we need development in Eatonville. Now, we don't need every development and any kind of development, but we need to develop. We have been staggering for so many years. We look the same way. We're doing nothing. All these people drive through here all day, never stop because there's nothing here. It's ridiculous. Anything to encompass development in a town where we have so many creative minds and so many creative people and so many people who have something to give, why would you limit that in any way at any time at all? It is so ridiculous for us to keep putting boundaries and restrictions on ourselves from becoming what we are meant to be. 1,500 square feet? No, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. It doesn't matter. As long as it fits what the community needs, encourage that development any way we can. I'm not saying we don't need fees. So what? Charge the fees. We're going to make the money back anyway. But don't stop development in a town that needs development. We need it. We need to change the culture of this town so we can thrive and be independent. And we're not. So when I hear things like this, I mean, it's when you look at different communities and the things they're doing and trying to improve, they're not creating obstacles that stands in the way. Once again, this is an opportunity for us to show that we can work together, create policies and programs to help improve our community. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in a short period of time I've been here. To tell me that I can't develop or start developing, I got to put a halt to that, man, that sends me somewhere else. Because they're not telling us everywhere else, Apopka, Winter Park, Maitland, Heathrow, wherever I can go and they develop. They want it, they encourage it, they begging for it. And we're saying, no, I don't get it, don't know where it came from, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, and I'm sure there was a good reason and some mindset, am I out of time? And some mindset behind it, I don't quite understand it. And so maybe I missed that meeting when someone actually explained how this benefits the town. But I just don't see it, and I wish that you reconsider and think about the future of this town not being a year from now.
We have to
The
stop.
future should be now,
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
So I too share some of the same sentiments, but also don't share some of the same sentiments. From the perspective of, we know from the standpoint, if you look at the town's financial position, that impact fees and the lack thereof has hindered the town. So there needs to be impact fees that are in place. And so with that being said, I agree with some different parameters. So what may need to happen tonight is that the council may have to table their decision tonight and work through encompassing some of the remarks from the residents that have spoken. Single family, definitely, like we're saying, some maybe a threshold, and that was kind of like a basic conversation the other night where there was a square footage at the first reading, but then it was kind of mentioned to include single family, all single family. I agree with former Mayor Anthony Grant to have some type of numbers, because sometimes numbers help people understand, to say that, there's X number of vacant lots in the land in the town, that if they are all developed, this would generate X amount of revenue for the town, as opposed, compared to the cost benefit analysis. So yes, the town has been stagnant. The town in my opinion, I say it, and people don't agree with me, it looks dead a little bit, so we do need to do some things to liven it up. But we are striving for that level of independence. So possibly just making some minor adjustments to it. I do too agree that we're behind the ball as far as the multifamily units that are currently under construction, probably close to, God will be issuing a CO by the end of the year. However, there needs to be a pause, just a pause until we can get these impact fees and these structures in place. I mean, that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this item? All right, the public section of this hearing is now over. Council, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments on this here. On the single family and the commercial, I think we need to revisit those two items there. I know the multifamily issue that I have, because with our roads on the West Kennedy side hasn't been developed the right way they should with all the traffic that we're going to incur when these apartments do become occupied. So on the commercial end, we shouldn't look at shutting that down at all. It's on all single family residents. We definitely need that open, because what we close this down, why we paying them for permitting, paying staff to do what now if we close this stuff down? That's one thing we can look at. If we stop this, if we pass this ordinance. So my main thing is, let's take all single family off this and commercial, and like I said, revisit those items there. That's all I have.
Councilwoman.
Yes, I think we should table this. I think we have a little bit more homework to do. We don't want to make a rational decision. At this moment, I realize that here at the town, that the town can benefit, because we do need the revenue. But I think we need to table and take some other alternatives. What I'd like to see is a calculation with or without 2,500 square foot, to see what will be the difference in the impact. And also I'd like to see the potential for how much land, vacant land, that we have here in Eatonville that can give us an estimate as to potential for how many homes that, how much land is available for single family homes. So I think that, in my opinion, we should table this until the next meeting and come up with a reasonable solution that is fair. But also want to make sure that we put the town of Eatonville in the best interest for what we need in the town. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. A couple things. First, all right. So, just so everybody's clear about what we're talking about with impact fees. First, you can't charge impact fees unless you first understudy what you're doing, and you can't lawfully impose them until you do that and adopt it appropriately under the statutes. Impact fees are supposed to offset the costs of the impacts on public infrastructure and facilities from new development, and so you can maintain the level of service to those folks that currently exist. So that's what we're talking about, and the moratorium is supposed to be in place so to allow you the time to get that impact fee ordinance. Whether you choose to do that or not is totally up to you. The one thing you can't do, of course, is charge impact fees until you go through that process. A couple things about the ordinance itself, and specifically with respect to tabling it. My recommendation to you is not to table the ordinance. You can not move the ordinance to be approved. You can vote it down. You can do a variety of things. But the bottom line, at the end of the day, whatever you choose to do, if you're going to consider, and we would need direction from you about what you want to do, what you want to see in here, or the options you want to consider. If you're going to remove commercial, or remove single family altogether, or have some new standard for single family that's different than the under 2,500 square foot that was previously in, We can do all those things. But under the law, what you would need to do is re-advertise and go through the process again of the first reading and the second reading. Removing the 2,500, under 2,500 square foot provision and just leaving single family general, legally, that's not a material impact on the ordinance. Everybody had notice, it included single family, included commercial, all these things. If you remove single family out altogether and you remove commercial out altogether, you put in some new criteria. That's when you got, instead of tabling, my recommendation is that's when you simply start over. You tell us what you want to see in it, or options to see in it, we bring it back to you and you re-advertise. You could, if you wanted to, one of your options, if you wanted to put back in the under 2,500 square foot limit or some other limit with respect to single family, my opinion would be that's not a material change or substantive change. You could go forward with that. But when you start removing whole categories or adding things that are new, that's when I would recommend you re-advertise and go through that process.
Can you, while he's talking, just one question. Would you please also explain vested rights since you're speaking?
All right, so the ordinance, and in whatever ordinance you have, if you want to pass it, it'll have some feature of this. It has exemptions, so things that are not included in the ordinance are not subject to the moratorium. That would include anything in these categories that's currently under development being built. Nobody's going to, if you're building your house, nobody's going to come stop you from building your house. You've already got your building permit issued, most likely in that situation. The vested rights is something we've done before, and what it does is it allows anybody to make an application under the ordinance and say, you know what, I've gone through my comp plan change, my zoning, my site plan approval, all of those things, and I think I should be excluded from this moratorium for these reasons. And it gives a specific procedure for them to come before you. They can present their case, and you can then decide under that, and this is all layman's terms, but then you can decide under that whether or not you're going to say, yes, you have vested rights, and direct the town to issue a building permit. It also, so in legal terms, it gives you one last shot to decide whether or not you want to issue a building permit before they might decide you've taken the rights to build on their property and sue you. So it's important both for the town and for the applicants for the due process. And it's a fairly detailed procedure. We had the same procedure in Ponce Inlet, and it was upheld by the court. But it's intended to support everyone's rights, both the town and builders.
Thank you.
He covered the majority of the areas we were talking about.
All right, Councilor Watson.
My question is, to do an impact study, do we need to do a moratorium for this, or we can say, can we do an impact study?
You don't have to do the moratorium.
But
However,
we still do an impact study though, right?
we're moving forward with that either way.
So you can,
Right, but what you don't get is you can't charge the impact fees until the ordinance is in place, until the
well,
study.
you
So you
study
lose-
then, impact, then we do the ordinance. Usually that's how I go. Well, that's back in the past.
And I believe, I'm sorry, and I'll be quiet in a second, but one of the other things is we want to see what the impacts are and what it's going to cost for these levels. You don't have your study done yet. So we can take from other places, but your study for this area, they're not going to be able to give you specifics about what the precise amount of impact fees you're losing if you remove this. But,
All right, thank you.
Question. Who introduced this ordinance and included single family homes? Who did that?
Actually, it's the ordinance. I asked for the ordinance from, well, actually, the idea of the ordinance came from a couple of us, because initially when I spoke with Attorney Shepherd, it was going to be by resolution, but that was while everything was going on. And then the ordinance came in after the deal with the Hungerford fell through, then we do an ordinance. So that's where the ordinance came from. In regards to the 2,500, that was discussed in the first hearing. It said anything under 2,500, but that didn't quite make sense, because if OCPS went against everything that we desired and sold the 17 acres, and that's R2, then they could build homes greater than 2,500 square feet. So that's the idea of the elimination of the 25 of the single-family residence total. Was that true?
That was my question.
So, did you have something to say? Go ahead, Councilor.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. President, how long are we talking about before you estimated this study will be done, impact fee study analysis?
The impact feasibility study is currently underway right now, which we should have by the middle of June. Then there will be the 90 days, well, give or take a few, for the actual impact fee study portion to take place. So the feasibility study is going right now, then the actual study will take place after we've completed that. Yes, I'd say roughly 90 days.
Okay. And attorney, excuse me for not knowing the House bill. The House bill that's going through right now, actually, I think it's scheduled to go to the governor's desk. How would that impact into this?
The Live Local Act?
I think it's that one, then there's another one too with the commercial property.
The Live Local then allows anything that's commercial to build multifamily on. That takes, so it's been signed by the governor, it takes effect on July 1st.
So even we had a moratorium, it's not going to stop that.
Moratorium relates to building permits. There could be an issue there. But look, we've talked to you guys before about the impacts of the Live Local Act, and that has been something that communities all across the state are dealing with, and the exact fallout from it we don't know. But that part of the Live Local Act has to do with approvals at the local government level. So your zoning changes, your site plan approvals, all the things you typically get to vote on, and those, it's saying you have to approve them administratively. It doesn't talk about building permits. And I can tell you in drafting this, we had that in mind.
So for me, it's had impact fees been in place. First, you go outside of Eatonville, you're paying impact fees. For several years, we should have had impact fees in place. No one will argue that. And for me, not even for me, when a house is built here, the town is paying out more than what they're charging the owner that's building that house. We take a hit every time a single family home is built because what we charge you for some of those services based on the fees out there, they're less than what we have to pay the contractors that are on our books. So we lose. So when you talk about homes being built, how do you pay the people? We're upside down with homes being built. That doesn't happen in any other municipality. So why are we asking that this town keeps taking hits? And it's not personal, but we've screamed impact fees. We don't have impact fees, but now the impact fees are here, and now we don't want them because, well, we don't want impact fees for this, but everything is an impact. Every car that pulls into that new garage, impact. Every foot that hits that new sidewalk, impact. And we still have the same old pipes. The impact fees do a couple of things. It offsets the cost of the impact, but the moratorium allows our administration to get things in place internally. We had a gentleman come up here and talked about how his bill was off. You know, there are things, internal controls that at a moratorium will allow us to do. But because every time a home is built, we take a hit, the moratorium stops the bleeding. And if you haven't already gotten all vested rights, will allow you to go through a process. If you have all of your plans and blueprints, all that, if you have those in place and you want us to take a look at it, there's an out for that. But to flat out say, take out the residential, no, that's self-indulgent. And you know it is. You know it is. That is not the best for the town. What is best for the town? You let us incubate. And when we come out of that, we're grown. just like other municipalities. We've been operating like a baby. Let this town grow up. It's not personal. But as an administrator in this town, this is the right move for the town. Every time a home is built, we take a hit. Come on, y'all. You know that's not right. You build a house the cheapest in this town, and you build over there. And over there, and over there. And down the street. There's supplements. And the moratorium part allows us to get it right internally. It allows us to, and it allows the feasibility study, so all the numbers that you want us to, write off on our head, out of our heads, we don't have those fees, those amounts. We can only guess and estimate. But let us do it like every other municipality do it. Let us do it professionally. And because it has not been done in so long, it should have been done a long time ago, let us do it right now. And I know it's going to affect you, but give us that time to get it right. It's not personal. The homes are beautiful. But we got to get it right. We can't keep doing it wrong because it's going to affect this person, it's going to affect this person. That's just all I have to say.
Well, I got a question. With that's the right, so that means they have their prints in, they have like all this stuff in, and they have to come back to the council to.
Right. So the council determines whether or not somebody has vested right at the end of the day, and it requires a hearing.
So what they're recommended to have, if we shut them down or say no, they have to have what in place? The permit, the application fee, application?
Well, it's a host of things, but they would have to, it depends on what they want their entitlement for. Right now, as the ordinance stands, they can go through the entire development process except for the building permit. So if somebody, let's say, was in the pipeline, not for a building permit, but in the development pipeline, they were waiting on their approval for their final site plan approval, and they get it next month, and now they're looking at a year before they can actually build. If I was that person, then I'd apply for a vested right and come back before you all and tell you that story and leave it in your hands about whether or not they should be issued a building permit.
But that should be done by now. That should be done. The study should be done by that time they do all that for a year.
It's up to a year.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
It's right, and the goal is not to have it go a year. The goal is to move forward with the impact fee ordinance as soon as possible. Once you pass it, it doesn't take effect for 90 days, so it's written in here to give that. There is, because with anything that's temporary like this, you want to know what happens if you come to the end of it, and you need extra time, so there's a provision in here to extend it. But all moratoriums have to be temporary, and if they're going to be extended, you have to provide for it in the ordinance, and that's what we've done.
This won't stop someone from doing single-family commercial on this area.
If they currently have a building permit or they're about to get a building permit, it doesn't stop them. If they are not at that stage and they still need additional development orders to be able to get a building permit, then yes, it would.
So nothing, just stuck in it. Okay.
But it stops them long enough to fill out an application for a vested right and have a hearing.
Yes, Councilman.
I have a question for you. How much of the hit are we talking about for single family residents? Do we know that number?
I hate to put you on the spot because Mr. English is not here. But I know that every time the fees that were upside down on, yeah, we'll have to get them for you.
Which fees are?
It's when we have to call Frank Gay to.
It's for the installation fee. I'll grab those numbers. I'll make sure I have them.
And it is what it is. I mean, but if we don't have the people to do the work ourselves, we have to pay someone to do that. So even if the moratorium is for that, even that by itself is enough to do a moratorium and get someone in to even negotiate those. Give us some breathing room.
So if it's certain items on permits, if I'm getting you, man, you're saying there's certain line items on permits that those numbers are obscured, which is putting the city, the town into a negative atmosphere. could we go through and look at those, and then Attorney Norman, you can help me out on this. Could we go through and put an ordinance in, adjust those schedule fees, and then allow everything else to keep going, or?
It depends on the specifics, but yes, you can, if you want to go back to the drawing board or only go back to the drawing board for a portion, you can absolutely do that.
And I know, because that's something we've been talking about, I know I've said it quite a few times, that our fees are off, and if we can adjust the fees, and I hear you, Mayor, that we are, we're going in the hole, that's why I really would like to know what that number is, the difference. I mean, is it $100, is it a couple thousand, I mean, what is it? We don't.
You'd have to give the exact amount. But even if we're barely breaking even, doesn't that in itself cancel out the idea that we're paying for salaries? If we're just,
Well,
you know what I mean?
all of that should be included in that. I mean, it should be a breakdown of saying, okay, this person is going to take this much time, so their salary should be encompassed into that fee. But
The fees have not been adjusted,
since when?
Since 2016, I believe, it's still on there. 2016, is it further?
Later than that.
It was longer than that. I know it's been some years. And so the reason I was doing that is we had a recent grant that we were looking at, but we could not go after it because our current sewer rates, water and sewer rates were so low, we couldn't actually recover the funds on our own without it. So that's why we're actually getting ready to do the water and sewer rate study for that same purpose, to address that and make sure we have a comparable rates on those fees. So that's what I work with Ms. Gibson and find out that exact number that is owed at this point, or is causing us to be out of balance.
Yes, Councilman.
Question, I guess, for the ACL in terms of the vested right issue.
Yes, sir.
Allows a developer or a person that wants to build some kind of home to come before us. What happens if we say no? And we say, what happens if we say yes to one and no to the other? Do we open ourselves up to?
Sure. Sure.
You see what I'm saying? So,
You have to have reasons.
Right.
You have to have competent, substantial evidence for any decision you make. It can't be arbitrary or capricious.
Okay.
And there are the vested rights provision of this ordinance is fairly substantial, and it talks about the standards and what you're supposed to consider and what you're not supposed to consider. So yes, you would certainly, if you want to choose A, to grant a vested right to, over B for a reason that's going to get you validly sued in court, you'll hear me screaming.
So when you look on page 6, that's where the vested right, section 5, page 6, pages 6 and 7, and maybe going to 8. So these are the criteria for vested rights. So if you apply the criteria fairly across the board, then we're not being biased, right?
Which one is it?
It's page 6.
In the bottom right.
The gray box, page 6. Right, page 4.
4, 5, 6.
And while we're looking, is there a reason why industrial is not in this ordinance, or not necessary? Because
Well, we didn't decide what categories to put in here, but industrial is not in here, you're right. And if you were going to go back and redraw it, if you wanted to include industrial, you certainly could.
but to add it, it would have to be
That's a brand new thing. Industrial folks didn't know that it would have been on the agenda, so that'd be a new ordinance, new advertisement.
I think we're okay. I don't think we have that many to do that. Yes.
There's a lot of things jumping out even more. I had some questions before, but I'm all about equity, equality, being fair across the board. So I think we really have to take time I'm all for impact fees, but I want it to be done the right way. And as Councilman R. Daniel said, I don't want to put us in that position to have to choose, and then we end up in legality reasons because this and that. So, Attorney, you said with the industrial line in there, that's a substantial change, correct?
If you would, or wanted to add it at second reading, my recommendation would be that you go back and re-advertise.
We
Do a
don't have
first
that
and
many
second reading again.
industrial.
Say again, ma'am?
We don't have that many industrial.
But what happens if someone comes and want to do something there? I just think that we just need to really look at it. I mean, I heard Councilman Watson say that he thinks commercial still should be able to come in. So I think there's a lot of changes there. So my recommendation is if we can go ahead and just call it to a vote and then maybe think about noticing this ordinance with a lot more fine-tuning to it.
So we don't, okay, so we don't want impact fees. I mean, and I hear you, I do hear you. I do hear you, but given where we are right now, but we'll win. Any other, you got a comment?
No, I'm saying, I mean, even on this, it still says after this, you still got 90 days, so we're talking about adding another, 30 days? I mean, Attorney, you think you all can rewrite this and all that by next council meeting? We can have it ready for the first reading again?
Well, because you'd have to notice it. I think the next council meeting is in 2 weeks, right?
It have to be in June.
Yeah. It would have to be the first meeting in June.
And to rewrite it, we'd have to know what you want in it.
You gotta rewrite it, then you have to actually advertise it for a certain number of days, which I think is 10 days or 14.
10.
So, and I hate to rehash, so who gave all this information for to go in this time?
It was between myself and the attorney.
Right.
You mean for the, information going through this moratorium?
Mm-hmm.
So in the first hearing, we gave input. Like, it was given to us in the first hearing, we gave input. And then this incorporates that information.
Well, the only input we gave into the first one was the changing of the single family from the 2,500
Yes.
to all single family.
Yes.
Because at first it was 2,500, then I remember the discussion went back and forth of it needs to be all single family.
Yes, that was the only input, yes.
And my understanding, that's the only change.
Yeah, and I just
between
had a
first and
question
second
about
reading.
industrial, but I know we don't have that much industrial in the town for it to make that big a difference, to have to re-advertise.
So that was amendment for the first reading, so we can amend it for.
Going back, so for the first reading, what you amended was you removed the under 2,500 square foot limitation on single family. That didn't remove single family. So it wasn't a material change. If you wanted to add that back in and leave, and leave the other categories in, that also wouldn't be a material or substantive change. You could do that. But to add a new category like industrial, or to remove categories altogether, that would be, in my opinion, that would be a material change that would require re-advertising. To avoid, because the harm there is somebody didn't have notice of it, and now all of a sudden they're in industrial and they can't get a building permit and they had no idea. So that's the purpose of the re-advertising. It does make life more difficult for you all, but the purpose is for the folks that didn't have notice. But if you were in single family and you changed the criteria of who it applied to in single family in a minor way, like adding back in from the first reading, that wouldn't be material because they would already have notice it would apply to single family.
All right. Is there a motion for the approval of second reading of ordinance 2023-6, establishing a temporary moratorium on the issuance of new building permits? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Are you good? We need a roll call.
Let me do a roll call.
Please.
Councilwoman Randolph.
Yay.
Councilman Marlon Daniels.
Aye.
Councilman Washington.
Aye.
Councilman R. Daniels. Mayor Gardner.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the rezoning of 1000 West Kennedy Boulevard.
All right. So I will not be introducing this item, but it is a quasi judicial hearing. The town is the applicant on this item, but so I need to swear in staff and anyone else who wants to give testimony on this particular item. So if you do want to speak on it, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. It's my cold medicine that gave me that delay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the board, and members of the community. My name is Tara Salmeri, and I am the town planner. Tonight is item DEV 2023.201. It's a rezone. The applicant tonight is the town of Eatonville. It is not the actual property owner, and I'll get into that, why that actually is. The location of this project is 1000 West Kennedy Boulevard. Parcel ID is 34212900000078. It's approximately 4.07 acres. The existing assigned zoning is C3. The future land use is a high-density residential. You'll just see that in the aerial. It's kind of the location. And if you're familiar just by name, it used to be the former Wayne Dench apartments. There are 77 units that exist today. On the surrounding zoning and future land use on the north is mixed office overlay in R3. The south is Lake Weston Plan Development. The east is Lake Weston Plan Development, and the west is C3. It's another multifamily that's existing. And you'll see that both of these maps, your future land use map, which is on the left, if you see the yellow outline, this is the subject property, and that is the future land use that has the assignment of the high density residential. And on the right is a zoning map that has a commercial zoning designation. The comprehensive plan in 2018 changed this property from commercial to multifamily. These two maps are in your comprehensive plan. That's how I knew that the plan itself in 2018 was to change the land use. In 2018, what in my opinion should have happened was the rezoning should have taken place at that time as well. Again, in some of our learning sessions, we kind of talked about what's appropriate with land uses. And you'll see in this chart, this is the table that is actually in the comprehensive plan. And in high density residential, there's only two zoning categories that are consistent with your comp plan. One is R3 and one is a PUD. It allows 17 dwelling units per acre. The R3 zoning district, which is the request to have this rezone, is to permit the multifamily dwellings by right. Currently today it's considered non-conforming. And that applicant kind of came in, and then let me go over the rest of the zoning district, but in R3 there's certain criteria. This particular project already meets that criteria as well. So currently the property has a commercial zoning designation with a high residential land use designation. That just on itself is inconsistent with the comp plan. The planning board heard this item on April 13th and they recommended approval as well. Rezoning the property to R3 commercial will allow the property to be consistent with the comp plan's high residential future land use designation. And then also the rezoning creates compatibility around the area as well as required by the land development code. And the recommendations, again, I'm just kind of saying the same thing over and over, is you are required by the Florida statute for the LDC to be consistent with your comp plan. We talked a lot about that in our learning sessions, and this just happens to be another parcel. I'm not finished with an entire analysis of the town, but there are a lot of properties in this town that do not have a consistent zoning applied to the comprehensive plan. So allowing the zoning district to be applied as R3 will allow this to be consistent with the comp plan. And the recommendation is to rezone the property from C3 zoning to R3 zoning. And a couple of things that I just want to mention is this property in 2018 did go through a variance process. It was recognized that they didn't have the right zoning, and the town didn't do anything to rezone the property. The other reason that this kind of came up, because that might be one of your questions, is why is this coming before us, is the applicant, the actual property owner, submitted a site plan to create a clubhouse for the residents. Right now, the 77 units do not operate as exclusive units, residential units. 2 of the units are being used as an office and as a meeting space for the residents. And there was a desire to create an actual real clubhouse for the residents. And when the site plan came through, I can't approve any modification because of the inconsistencies. So when we looked at it, the attorneys and I, we felt the best thing to do was to allow this property to be rezoned and to be brought up to being able to use their property in the way that they can. Another question that got brought up during the planning and zoning board meeting is what would happen if they demoed the site? How many units could they have? And today they have 77. If there was a redevelopment, they're maxed at 68. So if anybody were to flatten this, the only thing they could ever get is 68, so it would reduce the units. I'm available for any questions. And then I guess...
yeah, do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
Just a couple things. So we've talked about before that your comp plan is your constitution. And the LDC, where the zoning map is, that's the zoning map in your LDC that the Florida statute says it has to be consistent with your comp plan. So your comp plan currently has the high density residential, and your LDC says it's commercial. That's the reason why the town is the applicant on this case, to make it consistent. And the only other thing I would add, since it is quasi-judicial hearing, your decision is supposed to be made based on the competent substantial evidence you hear at the hearing. Due process afforded both the applicant, which is the town, and anybody else who speaks or any affected party, and the essential requirements of the law. And I think Ms. Salmary has adequately told you what the essential requirements of the law are in this particular situation.
So we know. Yes, you're finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now this item is now open for discussion. Anyone that would like to speak?
You had mentioned that you were doing a analysis of the area.
I'm sorry, sir. I got to swear you in.
Sorry.
Sorry. Do you mind? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I mainly just had questions. Does this have to be done parcel by parcel, or can we just make sweeping changes? Because there's a number of, I found probably a dozen or so that don't match. So I don't know if this is something that has to be done one at a time, or as I think you mentioned, you were analyzing everything. That was my only question, is hopefully you can make the sweeping changes necessary for this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing that there be none, now the public session is closed. And council members, do you have any questions or statements? I do have a question. Could you explain there was, regarding the parking space, the property has a parking space reduction that was approved on April 26th. If this zoning is changed to R3, then how does that affect the parking space?
Well, the variance was applied and they went through a variance process in 2018 and was granted it, so the variance carries through. So there will be no change.
Okay,
Yeah.
because for, my other thing, this is something I asked before, looking at a 2018 comprehensive plan, looking at what's going on in the town, knowing that we have pretty much maxed out multifamily. I know that the conversation was around the clubhouse. I have no problem with that. But if we change this to, and I know quasi judicial, but if we change this to R3 and they decide to build more units, it's 17 units per acre, and it's like 4 acres. So if they decided to go ahead and build out, how many additional units could be built on that 4 acres? Do you know?
None. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. If they did it, they would actually reduce their units. So if they ever did a redevelopment,
And that's for the 68.
yes, it would be 9 units. Yeah. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Could we allow the clerk to read the title?
You ready for me to read it?
Yes.
Okay. An ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, ordinance number 2023-5. Ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, changing the zoning classification from C3 commercial to R3 multifamily residential on certain real property containing approximately 4.07 acres, finding such zoning to be consistent with the Eatonville Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official town zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, motion on the floor to approve to rezone, the rezoning of 1000 West Kennedy Boulevard.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Who said nay? Okay.
All right, next item on the agenda is, well, the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Final resolution 2023-2, appointment of vice mayor. We gotta move on. So for vice mayor, here is what. For the appointment of vice mayor, I am still going to ask for Councilman Washington. So I'm going to put the motion on the floor, approval of Councilman Washington as vice mayor. It's been moved.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. Second choice for vice mayor, I move Rodney Daniels for vice mayor. All in favor?
No.
Is there a motion?
No.
It's been moved and seconded. Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Vice mayor, Rodney Daniels. We can move on. Reports, Mr. Preston.
Very, very quickly, just a couple updates. We are moving into the second week with the feasibility study and information's been turned in, so we'll keep you posted on that. We have looked at other municipal governments and their current rates, but of course it's based off the actual needs of the town that we'll decide on that, but I'll keep you posted on the update on that. Also, there's been some questions about floor repair as you come into the building. We are about 2 weeks away from having that demoed and redone. So we're currently working on that now with a contractor to help us assist with the mitigation of that current tile and the replacement of the new tile. So that should improve that entrance way within the next 2 weeks. We'll start the work and hopefully, if it all goes well, to take a weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and hopefully by Monday we're done. So I'll keep you posted if anything changes with that. Only other item I had on here was the stormwater improvements that were being done in the west, on the west, southwest side of town. So we're working on that. We're working that quadrant now, and hopefully I'll be moving over to the northwest by Lady Lake and some other areas, looking at some other stormwater improvements there. We have not received any current applications for the Public Works Director, and I truly believe it's due to the salary. So I'm asking council for my ability to revisit that to see about adjusting that salary. We have looked at some rates on that, so I'll be presenting that hopefully at the next meeting too. And then lastly, Founders Day, just needed to know some direction from council how we want to move forward with that in regards to having Main Street and the CRA to plan that, if that was integrated from the council for us to move forward with that. Questions or comments? Just
And no questions, comments?
and
in reference to the Founders Day, I would love to see other entities come together. So maybe if the chamber and other nonprofits can come together and put forward together for Founders Day. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort. That's what I'm pretty much saying.
we could add definitely chambers in it. I just wanted to know those were the two entities that, specifically in that area that I thought could help. But if the chamber could be included, that's, we can do that. I just need to know if there's any other entities.
I think we put it out there for any other nonprofit or not necessarily nonprofit, any other entity that wants to help out in the effort.
We'll do a public notice.
I think that's the way we're doing it.
My only thing though, too many hands in the pot, so definitely it's gonna be an administrative function, but with the inclusion of yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
I'll put the public notice out to make sure it's something that the town would want to see, and then we'll definitely have the administration kind of work the final results of that to make sure it's a nice day for the town.
Yeah, I think, it's just identifying who's going to chair, co-chair and all that kind of stuff, and bring everybody in. Mr. Johnson, Julian Johnson's been doing things. You have other entities, sororities, fraternities, churches, everybody. I think if everybody come together, it can be a collective effort. And I think it won't be hard to get the numbers you're looking for. It's easier to have people come out when you have multiple entities that have a baseline come together as a collaborative effort to make it fulfilled.
That's all I have for you.
I have no report.
Councilman Washington, want to start? Well, let me start this in. Councilman Marlon Banner.
I want to thank all the residents and everybody for coming out. Keep the Mentor family in prayers. They're going through bereavement right now. That's Miss Artisha Blue and the Figueroas. They lost their son, grandson, and his funeral this Saturday in Macedonia. Also, CAO, I want to tell you, I think the meeting that we had, I think it was very productive. I think it was good. I don't know if you all know about it. We had a workshop on a Saturday, but it was a chance for us to air out some things that's been going on within the community. People can say what they have been feeling, and I think it was great. I just want to continue to tell everybody to keep focused. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of moving parts. I know we're looking at what's happening right here in Edenville, but if you get a chance, go to Florida.gov and look at some of these House bills and Senate bills out there. There's a lot of changes that's getting ready to impact, so that's why voting is key. Voting is key. It's not just here on the local level, but it's all levels of ensuring that there's going to be a lot of things that's going to be impacting us very soon. So we just need to be prepared for it and continue. I appreciate everybody for coming out, and I continue to say that we are people over politics. Thank you.
Councilwoman Randolph.
Okay, I do have quite a few things, but I probably won't go over all of these right now. Let's see. Okay, there were concerns about the code enforcement. Our CAO gave me some information. It was about the qualifications of the code enforcement officer. I had asked about any licensing skills and any training, but I did get a response stating that the individual that we have will be going to certification training down south. I believe that's in September.
Yes.
Yes. So that's an effort. I was just concerned about people who are hired for a position such as that and not really having the qualifications. So I wanted to know who was training this particular individual, because I believe on certain licenses, he will only be qualified for certain types of code enforcement compliances.
Correct.
So at least we're on track with that. All right, thank you. Also, again, I'm going to say, even though that we are a warm and fuzzy community, we cannot let our gate down, because we have an influx of continual crime in the community, not necessarily this community to the extent, but it's in other communities. So we just have to be very conscious of crime and especially assault on our children. So hopefully we're still working on that with the Eatonville Police Department to provide some guidance for the awareness, even though we may not have it to the extent that others, but it still needs to be addressed. Also, I have some other issues for the CAO, which I will get with him about that. I don't really need to bring that up right now. I do want to say that I had a meeting with the Principal Harris about a little over a month ago, and I want to tell you, we have a very good school here. She took me on a brief little tour, basically, and just pointed out some things that they're doing at the school. So I have a minor campaign that I've already collected certain things just by mentioning things, so different ones. They need tissues, those disinfect, not the ones that you use for your body, but basically to wipe the desks down and the chairs and things. Disinfect wipes, pencils and crayons that she had mentioned, and the tissue boxes. So I'll be putting together a collection box for the school. They may not get it before the school ends. They may get it maybe at the beginning of the school year. You have to give us a time as a community to do this as a community project. Just drop those items off at the school. Attorney Shepard, I know he's not here, but I'm still waiting on the logo that he was supposed to be getting back to me on the logo that we had talked about. Also, I understand that we have someone working the pool. Is this a licensed contractor?
In regards to the work that's being done there, right now they're doing cleaning. However, when we get to the place where we're doing the actual motor, replacing the motor, or doing repairs to the motor, it will be a licensed contractor working that portion.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, it's coming down to, we still do not have can't seem to get information about a police chief. This has been going on ever since I've been on the council. We haven't had a police chief in 6 years. So I'd like to ask Mayor, what are we doing about it? The status on police chief. Should I ask you or ask Mr. Preston?
I can answer.
Can you answer that? Okay, thank you.
Sure. What we did, I reviewed the current job description and we are placing it back out to the public. We did confirm with some of the other individuals that previously applied, and their interest is not there, or not this time to proceed forward, so we're going to put it back out to the public, which should be going out this week, and we'll start to follow up once we get some applicants in. And what I'll do is create an actual outline of the timeframe based off when we get some viable candidates. That's all based off if they apply and consider based on the current rates. Now, I will say that along that same lines, along with the public works director as well as the police chief, we do need to really revisit the current salary ranges.
Absolutely. I'm in favor of that. Sure. And last but not least, the last 3 to 4 weeks, I want to give a shout out to the chamber, and I say the reason why. We talk about business and growing the businesses here in Eatonville and things that we need for future resources. There have been 2 important, very good workshops that they've had for certification for development if you would like to start a business, minority and women-owned businesses, and also develop. You don't even have to be a woman or a minority, just basically a business. The state of Florida came in and they did some certifications, presented some information for certification for business, for those who would like to own a business, and you know how to get started and get on the list so that way you can get contracts. Also, last week, they had the county came in and they also did a workshop on business certification to do business with the county. But anyway, I just want everyone to be aware of it. Contact the chamber if you would like to know more about those opportunities. They do a fantastic job as far as job development, business development, and also upcoming will be a business plan as to how to write a business plan. So they got some really good resources, some really good contacts, and they will help you in any way they can. Thank you all very much, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Councilman.
Thank you. Start out by saying my condolences go out to the Drakes family. We lost Miss Bonnie Drakes over the week, days rather. If you know the Drakes, please send them some sympathy or go by the house and talk, speak with them. But that was a hit on me when I found out she passed. But she and the Drakes has been in my life for a long time. Councilman Drakes, Malone Drakes, he was set up here as council person. One time I remember the debates, we used to go out on 4th of July, picnics for the town of Eatonville, the field moles and Drakes take their boats out there, take us out there to the lake and ride us around with a big picnic. So they did a lot for this community. She did a lot. I mean, she's a hair raiser, but she's a good woman, I tell you that right now. But my condolences out to the Drakes family. The other thing with the $5 late charge on water bills. And that's an administrative thing, but if our water bills due on a Saturday or Sunday, let's not penalize our citizens not paying on a Saturday or Sunday. That's the problem that someone brought up to me today, saying that the day was cut off, the deadline was on a Saturday, and they got penalized $5 because we weren't open on Saturday. So we need to look at those dates. We close on holidays. The next working day, we need to apply. They need to come in and pay, or after that, let's put that $5 on that bill. But other than that, at least give them the time to pay it, especially when we close. That's something we need to look into as a city, so a building. Water rate study. We've been talking about the water rate study for years. The audit always tells us about the water rate study. We haven't implemented it yet, and we're missing out on more dollars. So we need to get this done. This needs to be done. I mean, every audit, this is on the audit. And why we don't do it, I don't know why. I don't know if it's a political thing, because we don't want to raise for the citizens, but we don't want to take care of this town. Not the school board property, not these other properties, the citizens, for years. So we need to get our bill structure in place so we can keep moving. Like I said, there's a couple of dollars here and there. That's one less lottery ticket I can buy, probably, So let's get that, on the books, guys. I think that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. I had an opportunity to talk to the CAO today, just go over some of our notes that we talked about. Family Dollar, I don't know if anyone had an opportunity to walk around the outside, but as a citizen, I'm just really not satisfied with the overall appearance. The garbage is overflowing. I've taken pictures. There's graffiti on the back wall. The overall landscaping of the building definitely needs attention. When I first heard about the Family Dollar coming in back in the day, I was excited, thinking it would show growth and, that we're moving forward. But as I look now, it's really in desperate need of maintenance. And I've gotten with the CAO today so that we can get with the landowner to talk about it. When you go inside, it's bad, folks. To the point of the manager now, I was trying to ask questions, and no offense, it was like, no habla English. I was like, okay, no habla English. And so I saw a cashier, I said, do you speak English? She said, yes. She said, I'm the only one here. So, it goes to show that, there's no representation in our community, for helping. Family Dollar is in desperate need. I'm asking the CAO and this council, whatever we need to do to get it back on board, let's do that. To take pride in Eatonville and have some of the residents to work over, whatever we need to do. There's water underneath the underpass. I see we have new construction, and as I go by, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, there's water gathering on that side, and I was like, it has to be a maintenance issue, and I'm like, where's the water coming from? I don't know if the water's, they're moving wastewater. I'm not sure what type of water it is, but it's leaking. And I've talked to the CEO about it so that we can address that with DOT and whomever else the necessary people are. Also with Councilwoman Randolph with the maintenance of the pool. I've seen a young man work, and I've talked to the CEO about it again. I gave my opinion on it. I promise I say no one does anything for nothing. But I would like to know, is there an MOU and who authorized the work and what company? Because that's our pool, and I just wanted to get back online with that. If I can, you don't have to give me some now. Give me an email. I really appreciate that. Just like Councilman Washington and Councilman Daniels, my condolences to those people who lost people. The Drake's family, of course, the Caldwell family as well. I think his name is Hezekiah, if I'm not mistaken. I've had a co-worker to pass as well. So just keep those families in prayer. Ms. King, I would definitely be getting with you, ask for a general condolences resolution for, and I get you my co-worker's name as possible. Also, I want to just tell this council and the mayor that, I'm here for the city of Eatonville. I'm not here to undermine the mayor's, let's just say, I'm not here to undermine Mayor Gardner's administration or come in against anything that's going to move this town forward. I'm here to support, I'm here to help put this town on the map. Ms. Johnson, she's gone, and I wanted to ask her, she said, I've done some things that hindered the movement of the town, and I wanted her to bring me to the light, to the forefront, to help me realize some of the things that I've done. I'm also as the CAO. You can nod and say that if I've done anything that appears to be that hinders this town, let me know, so that we can only get better by those things that we know that we're doing wrong or that we're not aware of. Also, Ms. King, I would get with you. We have some, I think sometimes as a town we don't recognize those people that have done extraordinary things. Eddie Cole was recognized here recently as a Hall of Famer. Over 30-some years at Rollins College, saying Eatonville's own. I'll be getting with you to see if we can get some type of resolution just to acknowledge that. We also have Jalen Carter, which is a family member of ours that just got into the NFL. Bringing to light those people that have, come from Eatonville. His family was raised right here in Eatonville. His mom, Tony, and they're our cousins. And, just want to just give, acknowledgement to those extraordinary people that have done extraordinary things for the town. I'm here to move this town forward, guys. And I don't want to be only in lip service, I want to be in action as well. And Mayor, if you can't make it to some things, just let me know. I'm off on weekends. Wherever you can't go, hopefully I can go and represent the town well. And everyone have a good night.
Yeah, one question. That Family Dollars, I had an issue with them one time, and their headquarters is right down Edgewater. That Family Dollars, their office is right there. So if we have the issue, they're right there. Because I went to a Family Dollars on not Edgewater, one on Rio Grande by I-4, and it was a hot mess. And I was so upset. I was like, "Who cleaned this place up?" I asked for that number. They said it's right down there. I said, "Oh, great, cool." So we have to, and look like in urban areas, they look like that. And one time the guys that sit out there in front of Family Dollars, they asked you for some change, right? Know what I told them? I said, "Pick this paper up. When I come back out, I give you some." That's what I told them. Clean this up out here, put it in the garbage can, I give you something. I'm not gonna give you nothing for standing here, but if I come out and look better, cool. Kids at 7-Eleven one day, how can we make some money? I said, "You see that trash out there? Pick that up, I give you some money." So that's when somebody asked me, when I come out the store, I'll take care of it. But I'm not gonna give you nothing to stand there and you beg. So. But yeah, that Family Dollar headquarters right there, to get on their, get on their butt. Thank you.
All right, definitely my condolences, so I echo that. I also, before I forget, the Family Dollar situation, the other thing that did bother me besides the outside appearance was the safety inside. It is not safe when you just let people walk out of the store, because, and you're the only one in there sometimes. So I don't know if that's maybe an overall master plan that we can change when someone comes in here with a store, but that's a mandate that we can have in place. Because I don't think we have anything that we can enforce. The other thing is the water rate study. We do have that going now, right? It's in the.
It is in the pipeline.
Yes.
But it has not been authorized. But I have been in contact with the Florida Rural Water Association to get that.
Right. Okay. Town celebration put on by was it 1887 first or Lambert back that did it, or both? Okay. Thank you. That was a very nice celebration. Enjoyed it. Charter Review Committee, a couple of you did reach out to me for that charter review on the county level. I will be probably starting to get together in June so that we can literally know our county charter, and hopefully that will help us understand if our charter is strong and how we can even make that better. And I agree with the due date, following on a weekday should be to that next, a weekend should be to that next weekday. The other thing I'm asking, in addition to that charter review on the county level, even though I think that we decided that is the council going to be the charter review for the town level?
Yes.
But I would also like to have a mayor citizen advisory board for the town's charter to just dig in deep. There's some things that just work, and I think that should be protected. So we have that conversation. So if you are interested in just hashing it out, meet with the citizens so that we look at the charter as well, and that'll help inform me as being a part of the town's charter review. So two charters. Thank you, Julian Johnson, for representing the town on the Tourist Development Advisory Board Council. It was very important that I get somebody that will open their mouth, pay attention, and do the work and the research. That is important for the town. Someone said before, we got to be at the table. Well, that's how we're at the table. The community fridge. I put these flyers over there. This is started by Candace Finley, which I thought is a huge idea. She literally has a refrigerator in the neighborhood for family and children, and she stocks it with food every Monday. And then those in need can go and get the food for free. And obviously, if it's a refrigerator, you can put some hot dogs and something that needs to stay cold. You never know what people are going through. And the idea for her is that it's expanded throughout the town. So that kind of goes with our gardens in the town. So you have cold food and fresh fresh food. So definitely, if you pick up a flyer, information is on there, put some over there. State of a town address, I did want to have happen in April, but there's some other things happening in April, number one. Number two, when I address the town, it needs to be meaty. So there are some things I wanted to happen prior to addressing the town. So we're moving that to June, and I'll be out of school, and that'll just be easier. So state of the town, please look forward to that in June. Founders Day. Founders Day is definitely an administration, but this administration does value the input of the citizens and the residents. And if given time, then that's how it can happen. The 135th Founders Day, we didn't have staff, let alone the time. You know, so I hope that coming together, collaborating, that it just will be an enjoyable day, that we can remember those persons that started this all for us. And I think that being said, I move that this meeting be adjourned.
So moved. Second.
Then move in second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. I mean, say nay. 9:04.